we think good?
Yeah, and I would just remind them, anyone that's coming in, that we are recording this session. So if they don't want to be on camera, that they should just leave their camera off.
Gotcha. Well, good morning, good evening to the entire Passaic Valley community. It's with great pleasure tonight that the Passaic Valley Board of Education announces that Mr. Brack Healy will be our new superintendent, and as he started on July 1st. This is an exciting time for us, and tonight we officially introduce him to the community. So Mr. Healy is joining us this evening, on Zoom with everybody else, and we're excited to join the rest of the community with us. And this past year, the board conducted a thorough, thoughtful candidate selection search. Actually, this search probably began back in 2020 when we really started the initial conversations, and it took through May to finally make our selection. And Mr. Healy now took the position on July 1st, and we're thoroughly excited about our future here at Passaic Valley. So with that, I just want to kick it back over. I don't want to waste any more time listening to me. Mr. Healy, this is your show. From the Passaic Valley community, we wish you nothing but the best of luck and a great future with the current Hornets and all of the future Hornets in our community. I think this is a time of change, and this is a time that people are going to be really interested and thoroughly looking forward to what's next in the Passaic Valley future. So Mr. Healy, it's your show. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Mr. Yodes. Thanks so much for the introduction. I'm extremely excited to be here this evening with everyone. Just want to thank also the Board of Education again for bestowing obviously their interest in me through the interview process, and then finally selecting me to be the next candidate to be the superintendent of this unbelievable school district. I see nothing but untapped potential. I did officially begin July 1st, but I had been board approved back in May, and I actually started to get around to the school, and I was meeting all the teachers, administrators, and board members, and community members, parents, students, and I love what I hear. I'm really excited to be here. I do have a presentation, a short presentation, that I'm going to walk through sort of some of the key areas that we're going to be focusing on this year at Passaic Valley. And this is obviously, July 22nd. This is a very fluid interest list for me. And as I get more input from the community, from students, from staff, from administrators, from board members, these interests could change as we continue to improve and make Passaic Valley really the best place that it can be, and that we're providing the best educational opportunity for our students that attend Passaic Valley High School. So with that said, I will start the presentation. It's always interesting when you try and get this rolling. Let's see, no hiccups. Okay, I don't want to do that. All right, we good? Everyone can see? So far, so good. Awesome. All right. Of course, now this screen is taking up almost all of my PowerPoint here, but we'll make it work. Okay. So there were really three key focus areas as I was talking to community members, students alike, staff, parents, administrators, board members. And the three areas that I've chosen to focus on with all that input so far, again, this is July, this list could change and it's going to be fluid, is school climate and culture. The second area would be academic programming and student achievement. And the third is trying to get that image for us, create a branding that we can be proud of, that we can get behind, and that when people see our brand and they see our logos and they see our icons, that we can rally behind it and starts to build some sense of pride for our community. And Mr. Clemente, you want to just admit the, there you go, thank you.
I'll take care of that.
No, that's okay. Okay, so school climate and culture. So obviously that starts with building a positive school environment. What does that look like? I mean, frankly, this picture is actually a good representation. When the students are showing up to the school, we want them to be excited to be there. If you're coming to school and you're happy to be there and there's a good vibe in the hallway and the teachers are happy, when you're walking through these hallways and you're high-fiving, you're having a conversation, you're carrying that to the classrooms, the positive vibes that the school community feels through that is paramount to success. And this is really, if we could capture the students getting off the school bus and walking into the school, this is really something that I would love to see. And meeting them and seeing them out there and behaving this way, this is what we're looking for. And so what does that mean? So to me, the superintendent sets the temperature. And three things that I try to focus on are being visible, being accessible, and being supportive. So specifics of that would be being visible, just being out there in the morning, being there when the students are arriving, when staff's arriving, greeting them, saying hello, asking them how their weekend was, how the sporting events might have been, maybe how the National Junior Honor Society or National Honor Society events went. Having those conversations, going through the cafeterias, saying hello to the students, sitting down at the table, getting some feedback, having those candid conversations that I don't think happen enough. I think student feedback is really, really critical. And attending after school activities, events, and as you see, being accessible, being supportive, getting into the classrooms. I think it's important, especially those in leadership roles, is listen more, speak less. I'm going to try and lead by example with that. And that starts by building relationships, building trust. We often hear an open door policy and the door is often closed. That's not what we want. So open door truly means open door. I try to make time during the day. And instead of sitting in the office and waiting people to come to me, really an open door is actually being out in the hallways, being around the corner. So when students are walking to class and they see me, there's a conversation that can happen there that would never have happened had I not decided to leave my office and stay in the hallway for 20 minutes. And I think really that visible and accessibility part is going to go a long way, whether that's the students or the staff, because there's so many conversations that can happen on a day-to-day basis, just from getting outside the office, getting into the classrooms, being in the lunchroom, being outside, being in the hallways. And for me, even as a leader, with all the paperwork that we have nowadays, is putting that aside and doing that when students leave the school, doing that work after 3 o'clock, after 4 o'clock. My job right now is to be in the hallways and meeting the students and being with the staff and trying to be as supportive as possible. So what does that look like? To me, a valued community, a valued staff, valued students who all feel like they are part of one team. That's where you get your maximum achievement. And I don't want to sound too cliche about it, but if students are coming to school and they're not happy, staff's coming to school and they're not happy, no one's performing at the best of their ability. And unless you're performing at the top-notch level that we're expected to here at Passaic Valley, you cannot reach maximum achievement. So I really think it starts with the climate and the culture. Even the best programs, the best curriculum, it really doesn't mean anything if people don't want to be in the building. So some pictures, just, when I was at Woodrow or Bloomfield Tech, where I began my career as a high school English teacher. To me, I think John Maxwell says it best. If you're a leader, do everything you can to grow yourself and create the right environment for others to grow. And I think that's really important. And just being out there, getting to the events, knowing the student's name, knowing the staff name, I think that's a step in the right direction, especially when they see a leader that's so invested in the community, invested in how well our students and staff are performing. Focus area number 2 would be academic programming and student achievement. What does that look like? So for me, if we're going to increase programming at Passaic Valley High School, it's going to start with creating an academic programming committee. And that's going to be administrators, that's going to be staff at the building, teachers, could be a paraprofessional, could be a child study team member, could be a parent member, but it's really looking at the program of studies and figuring out what we're offering. And that's reviewing data, that's reviewing the programs that we have, trends in the community, all the course offerings, but it really starts with determining the interest levels. And that's really just talking to the people in the community. We can create great programs, have the best program of study, have nice academies and career and tech programs. But if that's not what the community wants, or those aren't the subject areas that we're looking at, then it doesn't mean much. So I think talking to community, talking to the students, having focus groups, making cold calls home to parents and talking to them about what they're hearing in the community, what are some things that we can offer at PV to make it the best educational experience possible. I think that's a good place to start. So how are we going to increase student achievement? All right, so it starts with curriculum instruction, and that's making sure that our curriculum is rigorous with real authentic learning experiences. And that could be field trips, that could be infusing guest speakers coming into the school, creating project-based learning, and engaging high levels of teacher evaluation. So that's a coaching method, getting into the classrooms, giving good feedback, creating PLCs. We talk about staff learning communities, making PD, professional development, meaningful. What does that mean? The staff members in our buildings are the experts in their content. So having them lead professional development sessions with each other and making it specific to their content areas, that's all good stuff. And empowering your staff to make decisions and to work together with their colleagues who they're working with every single day. That's how we start to move places. And I think the PD with the staff learning communities is a huge step in the right direction. And then taking that information that we received there and using data-driven decisions, like students, test scores, report cards, teacher input, all that's going to help us drive instruction. And what does that look like? And that's really identifying some of the deficiencies in student performance and starting to create some type of curriculum articulation. To me, it makes sense to have the 9th grade math teacher who's teaching algebra to be speaking to the 10th grade math teacher that's going to be teaching geometry next year. Getting that articulation so that we know where the students are when they leave in June. So when we come back in September, it's more of a seamless transition. And I think trying to set up those staff learning communities at the mid-year mark, February, as we get closer to May and April, and June, and having those conversations there and in these types of communities, that makes it that much more seamless when we're trying to make sure that we're reaching our students and giving them the best educational, opportunities possible. So we talking about learning opportunities. I think we really do have to take a look at what we're offering from an academic standpoint, what we're offering from a career and technical education standpoint, and if there's a way to create some type of academy program, whether it's communications, business, entrepreneurship, ways to create different types of sequencing so that we can find pathways for everybody, whether you're an honor roll student, an AP student, or someone that may fall closer into a career and technical education trade. I think creating the opportunities and putting them there and creating different sequences for students and different pathways. When you come to school, you really can pick something and be successful and get a great education at PV. That's what we're looking for. And I think that starts from talking to the teachers, talking to the students, and talking to the parents, and getting that feedback to determine how we're going to move forward. And we have school image and branding. Beautiful hornet there. So we know great things happen at Passaic Valley. I think one of the things that we can do better is make sure we're sharing those stories. Make sure that we're telling the story, a positive story that the community can be proud of, because there's things that happen every single day. I mean, even if you're looking at our softball program that had a great run, ended up being Passaic County and all the way to the Passaic County Tech. And I know Coach Benvenuti can talk about that. Our sports had an unbelievable year, and getting out there, getting on social media, telling our story, coming up with, new and modern hashtags that really the kids can buy into. And I think that's a big part. We talk about join the swarm, defend the hive, protect the nest. I think start putting that out there and letting the students, have a survey and letting them sort of give their opinions of the direction that they want to go and to get that buy-in, because eventually people want to come to PV. We start getting our students back and into our classrooms and make it really the hub of the community again. And I think that's what we're trying to do, or that's what we're trying to accomplish. It's going to be strength in numbers. We have a great administrative staff. We have an unbelievable teaching staff at Passaic Valley. Really excited about what pieces we have to offer, and getting everyone together in the same room and having these conversations is going to be a huge step in the right direction. And of course, we know about the green and white Passaic Valley and all the great traditions that we have there. But I think getting out there and telling our story is one of the best things that we can do, especially early on in this process. Some other things that we can look at too, that we are going to look at, is updating our website and making it a little more modern and making sure that the information on our website is up to date, that we have consistent branding throughout, and making it user friendly. We're also looking at rolling out a real-time app, which the students and parents will be able to access to their phones. It's a much more modern way to approach grading. As the students take tests and get grades and marking period grades are released, you can actually sign up for push notifications to your phone. So you no longer actually going to have to sign into a parent portal account, or the student's going to have to sign into a portal account. This information, when you sign up and you download the app, will get pushed right to the student or parent's phone. And just communicating that and making sure that we're staying up to date and making sure that parents are still a part of this process, I think is huge right now. And of course, when I was at Woodrow, we really looked at upgrading our sign out front. We could, with teacher retirees, you can put the teacher face up there. Some of them like it, some of them weren't so happy with their faces up there, but you can wish them well. You can do all the sporting events that we have, all the good wins, all the academics, the students of the month, whatever we wanted to showcase, you can put it right on there on Van Houten Avenue. A lot of cars drive by, very similar to Passaic Valley. We have a lot of street travel, foot travel that goes by our school. So it definitely would be a big plus for us to be able to celebrate all these accomplishments by showing them out there on the street. And even little banners, like the one that we put up at Woodrow Wilson, I think make a huge difference. I think about in that back parking lot where you have those dumpsters, we could put some signage out and build up our fencing to really make it a place that ties all together. When you drive into that back line, you really get proud about what you're seeing. And one of the biggest things is using our multimedia platform. I think we could do a great job, and I think PV can learn a lot from some of our competitors. But I really want to build up our social media aspect and be able to put out videos that we can be proud of, whether that's getting to our lower levels and be able to share, some of the events that we have on YouTube, and having that more transparency is going to be great for us. So I really think focusing on all these different avenues. This is sort of a snapshot of sort of the ideas. Again, this is very fluid. This is going to be finalized with the input from the board, from our administrators, from our staff, from our students, from our parents, from our community. So it's not easy to say the direction we want to go really on July 22nd, but these are some of the ideas that I sort of pulled together from what I've gathered when I'm talking to community members and all the stakeholders that are involved at PVHS. And I really am excited about the direction that we're in. And I'm really looking forward to communicating with people, speaking to people, whether that's the phone calls home, whether that's more forums like this. I can promise this will not be a one and done. This is something that I'm hoping to do 6 to 8 times a year, where we can have these open forums and surveying the community and seeing if coming into the school. I know this is somewhat convenient to be able to log in from home, but there's also something cool about being in person with people and sharing ideas and bouncing ideas off of each other. Me, I don't particularly enjoy this type of forum because I'm talking here. I'm hoping I wasn't on mute for the last 20 minutes. But I'm really looking forward to seeing everyone in person, getting back to school, and really making PV the place that it can be. And I will share everyone the expense of playing this video. It is on YouTube right now. And of course, I can be reached at my email, healyb@pvhsk12nj.us. That will be changing, folks that are logged in here. In the next couple of weeks, it will be actually changing to @pvrhs.org. So we will be shortening that up. So it's going to be a little easier to communicate that email over the phone to people. Okay, at this time, I'm going to stop sharing. I am going to see if there's any questions, if there's any comments. I know we have Mr. Benvenuti on the line. I know we have Mrs. Torres and other administrators. If you want to chime in, by all means, feel free to chime in here. Let me stop sharing now. Okay. Mr. Benvenuti, you there? You want to talk a little about the sports this year, Mr. Benvenuti?
I'm sorry, you were cutting out. Can you say that again?
Sure. Can you hear me now? You want to talk a little bit about sports this year, how the programs did?
Yeah. We had a really good year in spite of how crazy this year was. Sadly, with all of the restrictions, our teams had no access to locker rooms, no access to weight rooms. Our training room was by appointment only, and our trainer could not even supply water or Gatorade for our athletes. But in spite of all of that, and through the challenge of the pandemic, we had 6 league titles, 2 county titles, and 8 of our coaches were voted coach of the year in some capacity or another. Really a true credit to many different facets. Number one, our athletes. I think they really showed a lot of resilience getting through this season and just handling every curveball that was thrown at them. Our coaches did a tremendous job of handling the adversity as well. And then naturally, we think we have to thank our parents because they felt it as well. We had, locker rooms were now inside of their cars. Equipment was going home on a daily basis. There was many challenges, and we handled it well. And I think it's a true credit to our entire community, our Passaic Valley community. We're really excited about what we have going on so far at Passaic Valley High School. We have great coaching. We have some real, knowledgeable, youthful coaches that are excited about what they have coming in here to Passaic Valley High School. And I think our programs are only going to continue to grow. From a facility standpoint, things are, some big things are coming down the pipe where I think that'll cause a lot of excitement in the community, really with our younger kids as well, who will see these things, experience these things, and realize they can be a part of it also. And that'll be a key component to keeping our kids home and letting them know and making them understand that there's nothing better than winning at home in your backyard, community school with your family and your friends that you've grown up with. So big things on the horizon for athletics, and looking forward to it. We hope that you guys are too. Mr. Healy so far has been a tremendous supporter of the athletic programs, and I'm sure that's going to be a great asset to our success in the future.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. Mrs. Torres, do you want to just touch base on the program of studies? I know we recently revamped that.
Because I want to make it easy.
Maybe not. Well,
Of course, as soon as you say my name, my child wants to talk to me. Okay, so in the guidance department, we're getting ready to release our schedules for the year. The 2021-2022 program of studies has some new course offerings coming into play. We're starting the cinema and culture class, which will run for the first time. We're bringing back our patient care technician class, which will certify as 6 or 7 more individuals and be able to go directly into the workforce.
Okay.
And we also will be in the 3rd year of our CTE program. So we'll be able to start tracking students as completers of the programs in broadcasting and engineering.
awesome. Thank you. And then any parents that are here, everyone's sort of automatically muted, but if you want to type a question into the chat, I'm more than happy to answer that question. If you don't want to ask any questions tonight, you can certainly email me or call the school. But anyone that wanted to ask a question, that had any questions, feel free to just throw that in the chat. All right. And if someone wants to raise a hand because they can't find the chat, I'm sure there's a way we can unmute you.
Mr. Healy, while people are typing or doing that to fill
Sure.
some space, can you just tell us everyone a little bit about yourself, where you grew up and how you
Sure.
got to where you are now? Because we want to know you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So I was born and raised in Montclair, so I was blue and white. Now I'm green and white. I actually like green and white so far. Green doesn't look great on me, but I'm getting used to it. It's not as slimming as I was hoping it would be. However, I was at first an English teacher at Bloomfield Tech High School, so I do have some trade experience. I taught English there at the 9th and 11th grade levels, high honors. And from there, I transitioned into an assistant principal's role for about half a year for a maternity leave at Bloomfield Tech. From there, the person came back into the role. I started to look. I ended up in Clifton as a vice principal of Woodrow Wilson Middle School, where I spent 7 years as an administrator in the VP role and then the principal role. And I also spent a year at School 9 in Clifton as a principal, elementary school principal. So I've been to elementary level, I've been to middle school level, I've been at the high school level. Excited to be back at the high school level. I've always considered that the varsity. To me, that was always the most important. That was the biggest impact I wanted to have on students. I currently live in Patterson, up by Garrett Heights Park, right on the edge of Patterson and Woodland Park. So I have about a 6-minute drive to PV, which is great. I come out of my driveway, I make a right, and I just go straight to PV. So it's a beautiful commute, which is awesome because I get to leave school, go home, grab a bike, come back, and I'm 5 minutes later, I'm back at all of our sporting events after school. So it really is not only convenient, but driving by Passaic Valley every day, I always was in awe of the school. I just always thought it was a beautiful campus. A lot of history, rich tradition at PV. And I always felt like if I had a chance to work there, I would jump at the opportunity. It just so happened that this opportunity came up, which of course everyone now knows I couldn't pass up. And just so excited to be here. I really am. There's a great community. All 3 towns bring something unique to the table. It really is that small town feel. It really is the hub. I love going by there on Sunday and I'm walking the track and I just see all the different community members there that are taking advantage of our facilities. And that's sort of what I envision. Even going to Mamma Mia or being at the school late at night, there's always something going on at PV. It's a 24/7 process and operation, I should say. And that's what I'm looking excited for. So I think I did see one question about community outreach. And I believe that was Fred, Mr. DeMarco. I think that's a great question. And our plan is to start younger. to start putting packages together to get into the classrooms, not at the 8th grade level, because I think at the 8th grade, everyone's already made up their decision of where they're going to go to school. So I think it's important to get into the 3rd and 4th and 5th grade and 6th grade levels, and that's bringing down some of our students. I know we have the Hornets Helping Hands program where we have some of our students go into the other community schools that want to be future teachers, and they work with the students. But I always thought when I was in middle school, elementary school, and the high schoolers came down to visit, I saw them as celebrities. Going to the sporting events and talking to the head coach of the football team was like a celebrity to me. So getting our best people in front of these students at a younger age is going to be critical to making sure that we're retaining our students, and that we're getting the funding that is needed to make our school successful. So there's going to be a huge grassroots efforts to get PV into those other schools. And we're going to also think outside the box, and we're going to invite different classes with board approval, 0 period, bringing some of those kids into our school from 8th grade and 7th grade. Maybe there's programs we can come up with to get them into our school, to get them with our teachers, to get them meeting our students at a younger age. Because again, I think just 8th grade is too late to be talking to these families and students. And that also starts from administration, teachers, students attending the middle school events and attending some of the elementary 5th grade, maybe there's 5th grade moving up ceremonies. Just getting to those events and shaking hands and talking to families, I think starts to put the ball in their court, and they see the support they're getting from the administration. They're starting to learn people's faces and names, and then they see that we have an invested interest. It's much harder to turn away school when you know someone there. If PV is not coming down and getting involved at the younger levels, it's very easy to make a decision to go to either a private school, parochial school, or PCTI, because you just don't know anyone at PV. So we need to put ourselves out there and build those relationships. So it's much harder to make a decision to go away from PV.
Mr. Healy, if you could just for a moment,
Sure.
Because those aren't words, can you just talk about a little bit of what you've already done in terms of attending some of the local events, even before you were actually technically, under contract? You were already attending some of the community events, which a big part of the interview process was this disconnect between the sending districts and Passaic Valley and how we were going to rehabilitate that, right? So, and I know you've already been talking about it and you're saying it here, but I just want everybody in the community to understand it's already in action.
Sure. Oh, and I would say, there were some awesome junior honor society events I went to. So I've already toured the schools from the different communities. I've spoken on the phone with all the superintendents, starting to try and formulate plans of how we're going to best move forward, working together. I plan to have administrative roundtables with the other superintendents so that we can hear from them and see what they're hearing in their communities, because they're going to be the ones that are going to be able to feed us the information we need to put the programs in places to make sure that we're retaining our students. So I think bridging that gap between PV and, again, not only the 8th grades, but building relationships with the principals of those middle schools, but also building relationships with the principals and the families of the elementary schools. And again, just like Mr. Yodai said, getting out there and getting into the community and shaking hands and talking to people, making cold phone calls home to families and parents and speaking to them what they would like to see at PV, I think is going to make it that much more of an appealing place for people to choose. My best email, I will put it in the chat here.
And Mr. Healy, also, we've discussed, I know we're doing this event tonight, but an ongoing community outreach plan is definitely something you and I have discussed, and doing events either via Zoom or in person or in the local communities monthly is something also we're gonna put forward.
Absolutely. And having that community outreach and having these forum sessions so that we can be in the know and have that direct line to the parents that are going to be making these decisions, I think is critically important. Mr. DeMarco, I put my email in the chat, so feel free to reach out to me. And the current students, I mean, and you hit the nail on the head, Carla. The current students, we need to make sure that we're putting the best product forward for the current students, because there's a lot of students that choose PVHS, and we can't forget about those students. They're the most important. They're the ones that are at the school. They're the ones that we're educating. So that is a great question, and I know that came up in the interview process, and we need to make sure that we're reaching those students, and that starts with like I talked about in the presentation, making sure we're building up our academics, making sure that we have the programming in place for our students to be successful, so that when they leave PVHS, not only are they getting into good colleges and have many options to choose from, but they're well versed and ready to tackle society. And I think, focusing on just how to keep students at the school, that's not the only approach. It's a multifaceted approach. It's building up the current school right now, so that the students that are at the school, the families that are at the school, start to have that ripple effect, and they're out in the community and they're talking about all the great things that we have to offer at PV, and that in itself makes the school more appealing. So the outreach of going and trying to bring students back and making it so appealing becomes much easier, because those that are here are already talking about all the great things that we're doing at Passaic Valley. And I think that's a critical piece. So that's a good question. And again, feel free. You can email me. You can call me. I promise to get back to you. I try and get back to people the same day. I really don't even do the 24-hour rule. I mean, if you call the school and I'm available at that moment, I'm going to take the phone call. If there's questions that you're not able to ask today, or things come up in the community, or hear things, by all means, reach out anytime. I try and make myself fully accessible.
I think if I could add to the question of our current students from an activities and athletic standpoint view, last year or the past year plus was difficult for our students. Some of the fun things that they are used to, they weren't able to experience. So our pep rallies, our school dances, a lot of the fun things that we've done, Spirit Week, we will be introducing some new clubs, Multicultural Week. There'll be some exciting things on the horizon for our students that are in the building right now, that we can get back to, that we've done, and then also build upon, as a little bit of an excitement piece for them as they enter through the hallways in September. But definitely they're on our radar, and they're someone, they're a group of people that we need to focus on and definitely bring back in a big way here at Passaic Valley High School, so that they can have that excitement, and we can get them through the rest of their high school career with fun and that pride and tradition that we like to think that everyone graduates with. But definitely a very good question.
And we are going to be working on a newsletter that we put out. I know we have I believe a s'mores account currently at PV that we use, which is an electronic newsletter, but we are looking at either a PDF that we can email out, or actually a hard copy, just to start highlighting all the good things and really all the things that we're doing at Passaic Valley. And again, that's also a social media campaign too. So those that aren't on Twitter, that aren't on Instagram, that aren't on Facebook, I would encourage you to try and get onto those platforms. That seems to be the direction that education is going. So we try to put as much as we can out there. With that said, we also try and use the text messaging through our real-time system with the emails for those that aren't on those different platforms. But I think celebrating all the accomplishments of our students and staff included is going to be a huge step in the right direction for us. And when things happen, we want people to know about it, and we want to take pride in that. And I think about those that get selected to be a member of, say, our student ambassadors. I'm planning on having a student ambassadors committee, which is really the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students at PV that will meet with me once a month, where I can have that direct line with the students. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it is just as much their school as it is, if you wanted to really say it was the staff school and administration school. We're here for the students. It's their school. It's their education. So putting me in a room once a month, at least with them in a controlled setting, sort of a focus group atmosphere, is critical. And put aside the conversations I'll have in the CAF and in the hallways and at the athletic events, really having that set time to have those conversations, like Mr. Benvenuti had done with me. What was that? Was that in June, Mr. Benvenuti, where we met? We pulled in 9th grade students, 10th grade students, thank you, 11th grade students, 12th grade students. We met with 4, 5, 6 students of each grade, some AP students, some athletes, some that were in clubs and activities. And we got a lot of real good feedback from the students. And some of them had even commented that they just appreciated that they were heard. And whether they had that outlet in the past or not, they were really excited that they actually had a voice. And I think extending that voice to the students, extending that voice to the staff, extending that voice to the parents really is going to make this a school that we're all proud of. And I don't know if I see any more Mr. Clemente, did I miss any questions or is that good?
We do have a hand up. If you want
Okay.
me to, I can unmute.
You can unmute that person.
It's probably a question that I'm going to attend to you guys privately, because one of my incoming junior twins would like to not be there anymore. So it's really a tough decision for me to make,
Okay.
because I really like you guys. And I'm not even from Jersey.
Sure. Well, feel free to call me tomorrow. I'll be in tomorrow. If you want to give me a call tomorrow.
Sorry, I didn't mean to disturb anything.
No, no problem. You want to give me a call tomorrow?
That would be great.
More than happy to talk to you.
Thank you.
You got it. I think one of the pieces, while we'll see if we have any more questions in the next few minutes, is also trying to unite our curriculum with the sending districts too. And I know we have 3 different towns, and that's sort of on PV to have those communications with the superintendents to get in those rooms and making sure that we're trying to align, knowing that all the communities that we serve are a little different and a little unique, but having common based assessments that we're gathering the data, aggregating it so that we know where to place these students, and creating the PLCs, those professional learning communities, and maybe doing regionalized PD that really focuses on where our 7th grade students are at, where our 8th grade students are at, so that those teachers, when we have the regional PDs at Passaic Valley, when they come in, we put the 8th grade language arts teachers in the room with our 9th grade language arts teachers, our English teachers at PV, to try and bridge that curriculum piece, which I don't want to say is missing, but we want to just make sure that we're strengthening it. So every opportunity we get to collaborate with our 6th grade teachers, our 7th grade teachers, our 8th grade students, our 8th grade teachers, and making sure that our students are receiving that best educational experience possible, that's a huge step in the right direction. So having those conversations and inviting them into the school, which I know PV has done in the past, correct, Mrs. Torres or Mr. Benvenuti? I know we've invited the other schools in, the other teachers, and we've sort of done a regionalized professional development, correct? I see some head nodding. Okay.
Correct.
Awesome. And continuing to build up, building up our programs of studies, and just making sure that our teachers have the resources necessary to teach those classes. So it can look great on paper, but if our teachers don't have the resources available to them, then the program is only going to be as good as what's available to them. So I think just listening to the teachers and having those conversations is a huge step in the right direction. Carl, I agree with you. I've spoken to Mrs. Marinelli several times, so that is definitely very helpful. And she's been great so far, and she's going to be a big piece of this puzzle too. And really all the teachers in Little Falls and Woodland Park and Totowa. I mean, we want to make PV the place so that the teachers at the younger grade levels are also excited to see their students go there. We want the teachers at our middle schools talking up PV. And I think as we turn the corner and make it an appealing place to be and making the best it can be, we're going to see those returns. And Carla, yes, the answer would be yes to that question. I don't know if we have any other questions. Again, I'm easily reached by phone or email. If anyone wants to put their hand up, they can't find the chat. Again, I'll give them an opportunity to ask the question.
I do see Mary Pat's hand up again. I'm not sure if she re-raised it, but do you want to just?
No,
see if
I
she
mean,
has-
I've seen that hand up the whole time, so I don't.
Okay, we're good.
Okay. Mr. Yodes, do you want to close it out for us as the sitting president?
Mr. Healy, this platform and this type of communication with everybody over the screen, although it's common, after the last 16, 17 months, it's never easy. So I appreciate you, sitting across the screen and trying to do your best in communicating. And I thank our community for coming out, the participants that did come out. Look, I hope everyone in this community understands that this is an innovative, collaborative change, and PV is going in a direction that we know is necessary and needed to go in. And we understand that there are weaknesses, we acknowledge them, and then we also understand we are going to build and develop on our strengths. And we're looking forward to our new relationship and our new partnership and with Mr. Healy. So Mr. Healy, again, this is never easy, and I know we're going to continue to do this, and I look forward to doing it in person and being with the rest of the community. And our first board meeting is coming up, so that'll be your first challenge. So we'll see how that goes. But Mr. Healy, from the Board of Education, obviously you've heard it from us, but from the community, thank you and welcome to our community.
I'm excited to be here. I hope everyone has a good evening.
Good night, everyone.